Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli and tonight my guests are, first up, he's fat and hairy, it's ABW's esteemed producer. It's Danny the GFP. Hello, Danny.
I think you should add to that the Gooner News TV quiz champion that I won by a country mile even though I was taking the piss most of the way through it, letting them. I was giving points away to your mate Colin and he was over the moon with the messages of love you were sending him.
I hear Kate's got me an e-kiss from Colin for my birthday.
Is that what a used one of your Luisa Zissman?
Yes, that's the one.
Got from Carpenter?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But it's not a fleshlight.
No, the Carpenter fleshlight. Coming soon to shop near you.
Available in all good pirate stores now. Right. Next up, a hero among men, and the one we all look to when Arsenal are quiet on the transfer front. It's Geoff Arsenal. Hello, Geoff.
Evening, Gimli. How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yep. I'm all right. Not too bad. One bad is bad enough.
Yes, exactly. It's nice to have you back, and if bad's bad, then Danny covers it.
Thank you for having me, mate.
It's always a pleasure.
I'm easy to have. You know that.
Yeah, always. We'll move on then. Next up, when you lay your hands upon this man, you could say you are literally touching cloth. It's the Rev Raj Patel. Hello, Rev.
Noswaith Gimli Sith Mai.
Is that Welsh?
It is.
Canoli Dref.
I am very well, thank you. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah,
that's £200 worth of Welsh lessons gone down the drain.
That actually means town centre.
What does Yaki Dar mean? Because I said that to Jason once and he was over the moon.
Oh, hello? I don't know.
Good.
I just think literally someone was there and they just wrote letters on a piece of paper.
So how's life, Gimli?
It's all right, yeah. It's rained most of the day. It's always wet, yeah.
Wales.
It is wet, yeah. I drove past a funeral car the other day, and I thought to myself, I hope the poor fucker's got his wellies on. Jesus.
Apparently, in Welsh, Wales means rain.
It means a few other things, but I'm not going to go there. I wouldn't want old Welsh Justice to drive up the A470 and wrap a baseball bat around my face. Right, we'll move on that one.
I was laughing, but I was on mute.
Right then, and finally, the man whose presence has been sorely missed. If he's not here, you know it's going to be shit. It's our resident physio, Aussie Dom. Hello, Dom.
Hello, how are we? I'm back. I'm just slowly taking over the world one country at a time, so I'm in Canada at the moment.
I was going to say, we should be calling you Canadian Dom.
Yes, yeah, we've got to change that. Can we start over?
Yeah, go for it.
And while you're at it, he's a sports rehabilitation expert. He's not a physio.
Okay.
Yeah, get it right.
And our sports guy, it's Canada Dom. What's that all about?
Hello. Have I got an accent yet? I've been here 2 months.
Not yet.
Not yet. Canada now speaks with an Australian twang.
It does.
Good.
That's wow. We'll move on then. Right, Danny. Yes. We'll start as we always do by going over to you. So, what's the scores, Danny Dawes? And
Oh, lovely. Right, first of all, Arsenal under-18s 2, Norwich 0. Goals from Reece Nelson and Eddie and Nketiah. Not going to pronounce that. Next game at home to Chelsea on this Monday, midday kickoff. But strangely, attendance is by invitation only. Don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what that's all about. Arsenal under 2s I've put here, but I think that should say 21. 1, Fulham 0, Zelalem. Thank you.
No.
Turn your notifications off.
It's not me.
No, it's not you. It's one of them lot. Next game is at home to Derby County tomorrow night, which is Friday at 7 p.m. at Meadow Park, which is Boreham Wood's ground. In the ladies, in the Super League Cup, we went to the Chavs and we spanked them 2-0 with 2 goals from our super Spanish midfielder, Correida Ruida. Prove it. We are now third in the league because we've all played cup games, 2 points behind the leaders Chelsea, and that's where we go this Sunday at 6 p.m. And I think it might even be on BBC Two showing some of the games now. They have no other football to watch, so if you can, go along and support our ladies because they will need to beat the Chavs because the Chavs are ruining the game with money, just like they have the men's game.
Didn't we beat them last week, Dan?
Yeah, that's the first thing I said, Geoff. 2-0.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't.
Don't bother listening. I don't even know what I'm saying as I'm saying it. So, right, move on to the loan watch. I need special music for the loan watch. We have 11 and a half players out on loan at the moment. So we have Wojciech Szczesny, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have got that right. It's just a matter of timing. He's at Roma. Season starts next week. Carl Jenkinson, he started. Their goalkeeper got sent off, so he played right back. And then he went and played in goal, got booked, and they lost 2-1. It's not a day to remember for him. Serge Gnabry is at West Brom, but he wasn't used. Damian Martinez, he played 2 games for Wolves this week. He 1-1 draw with Hull, and then last night they lost 3-2 to someone who I can't remember. I've put 3-2 to Wolves, but I doubt very much they lost to themselves.
QPR, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it, QPR. And
give a goal away, I think, as well.
He did. He said there's a little E next to his name, which means he had an error. And the bloke that we should put a bid in for, the QPR striker, whose name I never remember.
Charlie Austin?
Yeah, he scored last night as well, so he's got 2 in 2. Ashley Maitland-Niles, Conservative, at Ipswich. He's played 2 games. Both times he started on the right wing. Both games he's won. They won the first game 2-1, and I haven't put who they beat. I haven't done it on either of them, have I? The second game, he got an assist and man of the match last night, and they won 2-0. And he's got shirt number 7, because our own John Welsh asked me to find out his shirt number. Found out it's number 7, and went, well, there you go, because he wasn't a right winger for us, was he? I thought he was a fullback. I could be wrong. I could be right.
He's playing very well, apparently.
He is playing very, very well. Another one of 17 right midfielders we've got, but they're all well behind Ramsey. Right, then we've got 2 boys at Hull. We've got Isaac Hayden and Chupa Chupa Akpom. The first game... Shut your face.
Akpom.
The first game they drew 1-1 with Wolves. The second game they beat Fulham 2-1. Chuka played both of the games up front. And Isaac Hayden, he started the first one, and I think he plays central midfield. I'm not sure, even though he's a centre-back. And then the second one, he came on the 78th minute sub. So they're both doing well, and I think Hull are second in the Championship, and they're looking very good. Now, Super John Terrell only played 1 game for Birmingham in the week because they're playing tomorrow night. He started in the Özil hole, scored, and drew 2-2 with Burnley. And considering Burnley were a half-decent Premier League team, I know they went down, but they still were a good team to play against, and he scored against them. That's brilliant. And apparently they're delighted with him. Super Dan Crowley, future England legend. He played for Barnsley. Came on the 46th minute sub against Burton Albion, beat him 1-0. And then he played against Millwall, started that, and they beat them 3-2. Yaya Sano goals. He was on the bench for Ajax, and he come on in about, I think, the late in the game, maybe 10 minutes to go. They beat, I'm going to try a Dutch word here, Willem II. Hey, I think that's how you say 3. They beat them 3-0. Wellington Silvers just joined Bolton on loan, who are rock bottom of the Championship. And Zelalem.
No.
Thank you very much, better late than never. Is probably going on loan to either Charlton, Birmingham, Fulham or Glasgow Rangers. And last week I reported that Samuel Gallardino was at some Bolivian club, and I've had George Bird, tweeted him and he told me no, we let him go in January this year, and he's not sure where he is. So there you go, that's all done.
He's disappeared.
He's gone.
So first on the agenda tonight is our win against Crystal Palace. 2-1 the score on the day. So to tell us more about it, we'll go straight over to Danny again.
Now, do you want to tell them why you're coming to me twice in a row?
Because Raj didn't want to do it. Geoff says he's forgotten everything about the match by the Monday. And what was Dom's excuse?
He doesn't need.
I was shit-faced.
Oh, he was shit-faced. Typical Aussie.
Right, anyway, so, yeah, really good game. Because it's going to go down as a win. Going to Palace is never easy. We went there last year and got the same result, I think. Palace can feel a little bit hard done by because I think maybe they probably deserved a draw there because for the first 20 minutes we ruled that game. Because I still go back to the fact I don't think we've started the pre-season properly. Most of our team don't seem like they're gelling yet. And although for the first 15 minutes against West Ham and Palace we were brilliant and we were ruining the entire game. Ruining them, that's not the right word, is it? I'm just looking at the game, the passes. We had 85 passes to their 80. We had 55% possession. We had 20 shots on goal and only scored 2. 20 shots and 7 were on target. And both games, according to Opta, the Palace game and the West Ham game, we had 752 touches. And in the Palace game, we had 478 of our 564 passes were accurate. And we had 27 to 18 tackles. So I'm not sure if they made a mistake. I doubt very much that 2 games in a row we'd have 752 touches each. But Özil got man of the match. I was disagreeing with Chris about that because who did Chris think should have got man of the match?
Özil?
No, that's who did get man of the match.
No, I thought no, Cazorla got man of the match.
No, according to whoscored.com, Özil got a 7.9. That was his argument. He said Cazorla should have got man of the match.
I'm fairly certain, according to Sky, Alan Smith did give it to Cazorla.
Yeah, but this guy Opta, whoscored.com use Opta stats, so don't listen to Sky, because Sky are all biased, especially if the Scouse Mafia. Sanchez was a little bit quiet. I mean, I think that I've been given a little bit of grief in the midweek for Ramsey playing on the right wing, or right midfield, or right side of the game, because I was putting the heat maps up. And when you have a look at the Who Scored heat maps, you see Sanchez mainly green on the left-hand side, Özil mainly green in the Bergkamp hole, now known as the Özil hole, but Ramsey was light blue everywhere, because then I found out afterwards that someone told me, and I read a report saying that Wenger had told Ramsey that he doesn't want him marauding down the right-hand side. He wants him coming in midfield a little bit more. So we had a very unbalanced team with attacking on the left and in the middle, and then Ramsey all over the shop. And I thought Coquelin, which I know Raj can talk about a little bit later, I think Coquelin should have been sent off at least twice. Cazorla against West Ham, he played out wide left, I think he did. And then I think that was just the final time we'll ever see Cazorla playing out wide, because he hasn't got the legs for it anymore. But the last thing about this game that I just want to say was I really loved the way that Cazorla would say to Coquelin, go get the ball, kill someone, like an angry Alsatian, get the ball off it, give it to me. And then Cazorla would sit there like the general in the middle of the park and ping the balls around wherever they need to go. And I think that combination of those two in midfield, for me, is the best combination of midfielders that we've got. So, and I don't think Ramsey should play out wide. I want to see the Ox play out wide, because you look at the 3 games we've had someone on the right, the Ox in the Charity Shield has been the most impressive wide right player we've had all season, and that's all I've wrote in my head.
Now, Raj, you put in the chat box there on the right hand side that you wanted to jump in there on something that Danny said.
Hello?
He's there.
Yeah, so Danny, I was just saying, you said an interesting thing. You said that we're not gelling yet, and yet it's the same squad. I mean, I know we've added Czech to it. Same tactics, same style of play.
Same everything, yeah.
Yeah, so what? I mean, I don't understand why you think we're not gelling. Or do you, my question is, we should be gelling already, because there's nothing's really changed since May, has it?
We had a terrible pre-season, though. We had 5 pre-season games. The Asia tour we didn't take seriously, and I think they played 1 game each.
Well, no, I don't think we had a bad pre-season. I thought we looked fairly good in pre-season. But I thought there was a lot of youngsters that showed a lot of promise. But the main first teamers that played, they looked quite solid.
Yeah, I mean, they did, but I don't think they had enough competitive matches. What did we have? 2? Because they all had one in the Emirates Cup and then another completely different team again in the second Emirates Cup game. And then we had the Charity Shield. So every player has only had 2 competitive pre-season games.
Do footballers now just switch off after the end of the season for 3 weeks, and then we've got to revive them again? I mean, Sanchez was playing all the way through until July, wasn't he? I mean, we're talking about the modern day footballer.
Who's been our best looking player, Sanchez?
He is, but he's still a bit rusty, isn't he? I mean,
yeah, but then you look at the likes of West Ham. They have played games since July in the WAFA Cup, and look how they were against us. Absolutely brilliant. But now I think they've run out of steam because
I was going to say
home by Leicester.
Look how they were against Leicester. Every run comes to an end. But I think go on, sorry, Raj.
No, I was just going to ask Geoff what he thought, because I mean, what I'm trying to say is that football is a continuous game now throughout the year, and I know they take a break. But for the modern-day footballer, they should still be able to kind of reconnect to that game pretty quickly once they get back into training. It's not as if they've put on a stone or whatever. So this gelling thing, I'm not too sure about that. I think there should be a well-oiled unit throughout the year, really. What do you think, Geoff?
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely spot on. You know, they not like the old days when you used to go on the piss for 6 weeks and then come back a stone and a half overweight, and you know,
exactly.
It's different now. These lads, even when they're just walking around in pre-season, before pre-season, so to speak, they'll still keep themselves fit. They'll go to the gym or they'll go and have a few runs or whatever just to tick over. They won't just lose it completely. So obviously Dom's going to know more about this than all of us. But when they come back, then they'll get up to peak fitness again with the pre-season. But no, I disagree with Danny a little bit, because I think our passing and our play has been very, very good, especially for early season. We've had 2 London derbies on the trot now. Very, very difficult. People take away. They don't, you've got to remember, London derby, although we've got all foreign players now, it does still feel different. Don't worry about that. And it's always difficult at the start of the season because, like you say, everyone ain't up. They're not quite up to speed yet which I suppose contradicts really what I said when I disagreed with Danny. But at the same time, until everyone gets up to speed, every game is going to be a difficult game. You never know what's going to happen. And I think we played very well. I don't think we was really under any pressure. It's difficult to watch for any Arsenal fan, because we just always think, I still think there's a little bit of vulnerability there, but I don't know whether that's me being an Arsenal fan and being paranoid about it, or we are really vulnerable sometimes. Sometimes when them players are flying down the flanks and they're getting crosses in, I think sometimes, maybe I worry too much, I don't know. But overall, I think we've done well. I think we bossed the game. I think, we wasn't really under too much pressure, and to be honest, it could have been 4 or 5.
Yeah, and going back to the fitness point, Don, we've got you here, so I think it'd be interesting to get your take on it.
I thought I saw a concerted sort of effort from Arsenal on a whole when it came to the difference in pre-season. I noticed, I don't know if it's Shad Forsyth bringing in a different perspective on things, but we came back from the international tour a lot faster than we normally have, and a lot sort of sooner than some of the other clubs. I know that Man City and Chelsea were still overseas playing games right up until the start of the season. So for me, that's a good thing, because it's less time away in hot conditions playing against maybe subpar teams on average pitches where you're likely to get kicked and knocked and sprains and stuff. But it's one of those things, like Raj put it perfectly. These guys aren't coming back out of condition. They need to start a pre-season all over again. There's high expectations on these guys now to maintain a certain level of condition. So the conditioning side of things is still very, very important. And it's one of those things where Jack Wilshere's injury couldn't have come at a worse time for the kid, because to try to get back to that base level of fitness during a season is extremely difficult. To get it at the start of the pre-season is really good. So I was actually holding quite high hopes for our overall fitness, because it seemed that the only injury that we really had to anyone of significance, no disrespect to Rosicky and Welbeck, but that was Jack, and everybody else seemed to get through the whole pre-season quite well, which is the first time in a long time. So I was expecting us to come out flying out of the blocks, but I'm not sure it's a fitness issue. I think it's just they weren't at the races mentally. I'm not sure why. I don't know if you guys have got any thoughts on that, but the fitness side of things shouldn't be an issue. But I think we're right in saying that we did dominate a lot of that both games, where I looked at some stats, and I think we've got the third highest total shots either at goal or on goal in the league, behind City, and I think Swansea, was the other team. So it's not like we're not, getting in around and getting it done. It's just the finishing maybe a little bit poor, maybe we're a little bit rusty, or not quite have a plan B when it comes to going forward. I'm not so sure, but I don't think it's as bad as we've made it out. It's probably more frustrating as an Arsenal fan, because it's here we go again. Another slow start to the season when the big teams, like even United, have been playing like crap, but they've won both their games, and Man City have come out flying, and we're sitting here scratching our heads going, oh, here we go again.
We should try and break down this game then, and I've got particular talking points from the actual match itself. The first one, and we'll try and go through as it happened, was the opening goal. Mesut Özil, amazing cross over to Giroud, and I can describe it as a fantastic scissor kick into the bottom corner. Geoff, what did you make of that goal? It was a thing of beauty. If any other player, say if an Aguero or a Rooney scores that goal, they're talking about it for months. Giroud scores it and gets about a week, that's it. What did you make of it?
I'm amazed at the amount of stick that Oliver Giroud gets. It's just unbelievable, and that although it wasn't, a lot of people was criticising, saying that that crossing wasn't that good because Giroud had to alter his run, etc., etc. But what we've got to remember is Mesut Özil will pass the ball where you're supposed to be. So maybe Oliver Giroud got there a little bit too early. But what a fantastic strike. That's what he's got in his locker. He's got great technique. You'll see them sometimes where he'll miss it a little bit, but when he catches them right, that's what happens. It will strike him into the corner, and it really did shut up people that say he don't score half chances, because that really was only a half chance. He had to do a lot to score that goal, and I think he did it really, really well. Fantastic goal, and it got us off and running, didn't it?
Yes, and I understand he's got something like 3-3 against Palace now. Danny, you've got a slightly different take on this. I mean, we won't take Giroud's goal away from him. It showed fantastic finesse to put the ball in the back of the net. But you understand, or it's your line of thinking, that Giroud isn't doing his job.
No, I mean, to score 1 goal in 9 Premier League games, of which he started 8, and then that 1 goal is against Palace, that is absolutely terrible. That's why we've had such a poor end to last season, apart from the West Brom game where he decided to play Theo up front. I would drop Giroud straight away, because he isn't doing the job. You cannot have a player going just under a quarter of a season without scoring a goal. That's ridiculous. I know he does a load more work, and maybe Wenger's at fault for expecting him to cover. I mean, you see him running around all over the place, covering every other position. But we need someone up front who is going to be a little bit more selfish, maybe, and score the goals. Because it's not as if the whole team is brimming with goals, is it? We need a striker who's going to score goals, and he isn't doing it. Yet Theo is in form, and he's not playing him. He didn't even bring him on as sub. I mean, I like Giroud, and I've been backing Giroud ever since he's been at the club. He does so much work for the club, but you can't be a top 3 Premier League team and have a striker who scores 1 in 9.
No, it's not good enough. And Dom, you've got something to say on that?
Yeah, I disagree, because his overall statistics aren't 1 in 9. They're 1 every other game. But I've looked at it. It's you bring in a 30-goal-a-season striker, that doesn't equal 30 more goals on top of what we already score. What happens is Sanchez doesn't score 25. He only scores 10 to 15. It takes goals away from other people when it's all funneled through the top people. If you go back over the last God knows how many seasons, you'll notice that the goals for don't really change all that much regardless of who we've had up top. When that's including Thierry Henry and Ian Wright scoring 30 goals a season. So the people around Giroud, their goal tallies will just go down even further. And I think that's what the manager's saying. He's not necessarily needing to bring in someone that scores 30 goals a season. Even if he was to do that, he wants to bring in somebody that will still maybe, get a few extra goals, but he's still asking for Theo to score more. We need more out of Oxlade-Chamberlain on that right-hand side. That's a forward position. It's a goal-scoring position, and we had very few goals scored from that right-hand side last season. Now, that might be because he's playing midfielders out there, but it might also be that Theo and Oxlade-Chamberlain need to lift their goal-scoring ratio, not necessarily the front man, because that's not really what his game is all about, is just getting onto the end of balls and putting them in the net. He brings other players in. That's why you see decent returns from players like Alexis. So I've got a little bit of a different take on that. What do you think about that one, Raj?
I kind of understand where you're coming from, and I know we disagreed about this last season when you put your stats out, which were very good, by the way. What I'm trying to say is that with a 30-goal-a-year striker, yes, you are completely right that the goals should come from everywhere else as well, and he's not going to add 30 goals more to what we normally score in a season. So, say we scored 100 last year, we're not going to score 130 this year. But what that type of player brings to a team, if we were to buy someone like that person, is that extra technique that might service, that Ozil could service better. So some of the chances that Giroud does miss quite often, a new striker, someone who's got that ability, will put away if Ozil. What we need to find really seriously now is a player that can play off Ozil more than what Giroud does at the moment.
The problem is that everybody's looking for that type of player. Everybody wants, we keep on saying it, everyone wants that 30-goal-a-season striker. There's just a shortage of them. They're not out there. And Wenger recognised this maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He recognised that there wasn't that many on the market that you could go and purchase just openly without breaking the bank. So he's added to different areas where we're going to create goals and score more goals from all around the pitch. And I think that's what he's done. He's right. And we're still in that same position now, whereas we're still looking for a centre forward. But no doubt we'll cover this later on when we cover a little bit of transfers. Back to you, Gim.
No, I totally agree. I know Danny's got a point, and one of the people that we've been linked with continuously through this window is Karim Benzema, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's done. We're interested. We've had interest. I think everything up to this point has been but speculation. But Danny, you've got a point on the main strikers, haven't you? Giroud, Walcott, and if Benzema come in.
Yeah. The question I want to ask everybody is just one simple word from each of you. If we go back to the first game of this season and we get either Giroud, Walcott or Benzema to play all 38 games as the main striker, who do you think would be the top goal scorer at the end of the season? That would mean that the other two wouldn't start a single game. That the other one would play all 38 games. I know it's probably not going to happen. But what do you all think on who? Because I personally think Benzema would score more than any of those lot.
I agree as well. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why. It's not. I don't care what you rate him as a player. He's played with Ozil before. And then hopefully you'd think they can remember that understanding they had at Real Madrid. And I think I think he will score loads. So
I think Benzema will always score more goals than Giroud. Giroud is never going to be that 20 or 25, 20, 30 goal a season man. But if he played every single game, Giroud, he'd be pushing on 25. I think he may get up to 25, something like that. But he won't. I don't think he's going to play every single game.
But I think with Giroud, Geoff, as well, it's what he does all over the pitch. You see he's getting back for corners, he's defending corners, 9 times out of 10 he's the man that puts the head on the ball that kicks off another attack. Maybe that's why he's not up there so much, but it's what he does all over the field. I mean, at times you'll see him drift out right, and he has been criticised for playing too much out wide. I also think that Giroud's game doesn't necessarily suit him as a lone striker because I don't think he's prolific enough. Whereas I think Benzema, if you put him up top on his own, that boy would get you goals. I think that would be the main difference that I can see. Would anyone agree with that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Look, I actually think there's an argument for Theo and Ozil to be a great partnership behind one another, because Theo's got the ability to get in behind defences, something that Giroud doesn't do. And if there's anybody in the Premier League that's better at finding a through ball than Ozil, I haven't seen them. And Theo is so good at just finding that little bit of extra space off the back of a defender, whether it's coming in from the right between the fullback and the centre-back, or whether it's just getting in and around those areas. It's something that we really lack, and I don't even think that Benzema does it as much as what Theo does. Yes, they're probably 3 very different strikers, but I wouldn't rule out somebody like Theo being somebody that we can use up top and get those goals that we're saying that Giroud doesn't. So, he finished the season really well, scoring last year, and I would like to see him up top a little bit more perhaps. But yes, there's going to be games that when you start him, teams just drop right back and play 2 banks of 4 and don't give you any space. But that's always going to be when you've got a Giroud to come on as a plan B. So I think there's 2 different options there already.
I think one of the people that we are forgetting about is the man that's coming close to his first year at Arsenal, and maybe someone that we were forced to kind of buy, who would be Danny Welbeck. Of course, he's had a lot of time injured. He's shown a lot of promise. He scored a hat-trick against Galatasaray, of course. There were many people after that game saying, "Oh, look, we've signed the next Thierry Henry." When Arsene Wenger signed him, I think the agreement was that he wasn't going to play so much out wide, because that's why he got the ump at Man United. So where do we all stand with him? Because none of you boys have actually mentioned his name so far, and from what I make out, he's a month away from being fit. So where does he fit into the plans, or does he? Geoff?
Don't think he does.
No, I do. I honestly think he's a really, really good player, Danny Welbeck. I think he's another one that gets a bit of stick because we haven't paid £30 million for him or something like that. But he's great for the team. He's brilliant round the dressing room. He's always cracking the jokes and all that. He's really bedded in well. His work rate is fantastic. He's got pace. Obviously, he gets criticised about his finishing, but I reckon when he settles down, he'll be an asset to the club, and I can see him banging in some goals, and I really do believe that Danny Welbeck can have a good career at Arsenal. I'm hoping he does.
Big season for him, though, isn't it, Geoff? He's got to answer a lot of critics.
Well, yeah, but this everyone. It's a big season for everybody. Everyone says, "Oh, there's no excuses now," blah blah blah. But Danny Welbeck is definitely. I mean, he's played for England. He's England international. He's scored a lot of goals for England as well. He knows where the net is. I think he's a type of player that needs to play centre forward regularly. Is he going to get that at Arsenal? I'm not quite sure. That's the problem.
Thing is, Geoff, there will be a lot of people asking as well. Of course, I mean, I've been to Wembley, watched Danny Welbeck play in an England shirt, and I thought he was fantastic for the game that I watched him. He scores a lot of goals on the international stage. Now, whether you want to argue it's against lesser opposition, but he doesn't quite seem to carry that form over into an Arsenal shirt. Why do you say that is, Raj?
Well, he hasn't played that much, has he? I can't remember how many games. How many games did he play last year, Danny?
He played 34 games, of which he started 27, and he scored.
Really? That many?
Yeah. I'm just looking that up. I couldn't believe it.
And he scored 7 goals.
He has scored 8 goals, but 3 of those were against Galatasaray. He scored 4 in the Premier League.
But let's be honest, that goal against Manchester United in the FA Cup, that paid his fucking transfer fee right there. Thank you very much.
He started 18 Premier League games, come on as sub 7 times, and scored 4 goals.
You can't dislike the lad. He's a nice lad, as Geoff has said, and we all want him to succeed. Whether he will is another thing, because I just can't see him getting into the team at the moment. I mean, I think Dom's right. We should try Theo at some point, but again, I've got a doubt about is there something going on with Theo and Arsene at the moment?
Yeah,
I don't understand why he's not making it.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. Right, I used to play as a big centre forward. Theo, he's not very good with his back to goal. There's no doubt about it. He's not really good with his back to goal. He's okay getting in behind. Obviously, he's got that pace, but in the Charity Shield, he's out of shape sometimes. And it's incredible the funny shapes that he gets himself in. He doesn't really, he gets a little bit lost. He meanders about the pitch rather than, getting into a decent shape where he can receive the ball. It's something you've got to get it on the side and stuff like that. He's just looking to go in behind all the time. So I'm not sure whether he's going to be a centre forward yet. He might progress into that. He's got a learning to do, but let's hope he does. But I think that's the problem. I don't know whether Wenger trusts him 100% playing as an out-and-out striker, especially in the big games.
Mm.
Are we past that point now? I mean, that's my argument for all of this, is that Welbeck's clearly not the finished article, and if he doesn't have that much trust in Theo as a centre forward, I don't know that we're in a position now where we can sort of bed Welbeck into hopefully slowly becoming that superstar centre forward that obviously we need if we're going to push on. So that's where I guess the frustration lies, is that you've got Olivier Giroud and then 2 guys that may or may not be up to scratch, but it is go time now. It is. We are at that point where the squad is very settled, and I think that I'm not going to say that the excuses are running out, but it's at that point now where I look at the team and think that unless you do something soon, you're going to have Özil getting towards 30. You're going to have Mertesacker and Koscielny really on the other side of 30. Petr Cech's time's going to run out, and then we don't really have time to be waiting for Welbeck and Theo to come good.
I think what'll happen is, sorry, Kate, I think what'll happen is the same as when Coquelin came in. He really hit the ground running straight away and became undroppable immediately because he made that much of an impact. What's going to happen is Theo comes in and has a really fantastic game, and then he'll have to play him the next game, and he'll have to continue that run. And that's the only way one of them is going to, concrete a place as a centre forward. Until that time comes, we're still going to be looking for a centre forward.
Very true. There is plenty to talk about regarding the match, and we've only talked about what's gone on up top at the moment. I think one of the standout performers of the game was Mesut Özil. I hope Danny's got something to do with Özil Watch. If he hasn't, Danny, wiki it now, for fuck's sake.
I do.
I'll give you some stats. He got a pass completion rate of 97.9%, and he also made 54 of the 55 passes attempted. He ran the show, didn't he? As well as getting an assist. What did you make of his performance, Danny, for the game?
Just sublime as always. Something I'm going to be doing this season is, because I think it's important to show the build-up to goals, so I'm going to keep even Opta don't do this, that I know of, and they keep all their stuff secret. I'm going to be doing keeping a record of assist, second assist, third assist, and fourth assist. So for the Giroud goal, it went Sanchez, then a Palace player, then Sanchez, then Özil, then Giroud scored. And then for our second goal, Cazorla, Bellerin, Ramsey, Sanchez, and then a Palace own goal. So you can see in those two, Sanchez had his hand got 2, I don't know, you can award them points or bananas or sausages, either way. So I think that over the season that will give a better guide to people who go, oh, well, Özil hasn't scored many goals. Yeah, but he's got 14 assists, he's got 19 second assists, and it shows the build-up to the play and how important they are. It's not all about who scores the goal, which I think a lot of people see from Özil, that he may not be getting the goals or the first assist, but that he's still having so much to do with the rest of the game. But like you were saying here, 98% success rate, 5 key key passes. He did 55 passes and 54 of them were accurate. And the only person who beat him was the Ox, who had 100% because he probably only touched the ball twice.
And I know Ox only came on in about the 55th minute for Koch, was it? I think.
That's the only thing with this Who Scored. They don't tell you the minutes that people come on and off, so you have to go back to Soccer Base and they just make it up with number weighing. But then you look at, just on his own, Özil had 5.6% of the ball the whole of the game, and he got an average rating of 7.88, which is brilliant. He only did one tackle, which is good because it's not his job to do tackling. So he's just absolutely brilliant as well, and he got man of the match, which is why we all love him.
Exactly. And I think he answered a lot of his critics because there still seems to be a fair few people on his back, and performances like that are going to do him absolutely no harm whatsoever. Next, I want to move on and talk about the Palace equaliser. Again, Arsenal fans playing the blame game. A lot of people saying that Koscielny should have charged the ball down instead of covering his nuts. And a lot of people said that Cech should have been quicker to the actual ball and maybe saved the goal. I want to go to Raj next. What was your take on that? Is there any cause for the blame game in this one, or is it just a sloppy goal to concede all round?
It was a pretty sloppy goal to concede all round, but I mean, Laurent Koscielny did turn his back on the shot, which I don't know whether he should have really. But I wouldn't want to blame any individual player. I think that was a team error, really, and that's where I'll leave it, to be honest. That's what I've got to say.
Okay. I mean, is there anyone else that wants to jump in on this one? Dom, maybe?
Yeah, I think that we probably give Koscielny a bit of a free ride sometimes as far as criticism goes, and everyone wants to jump on Per Mertesacker as the scapegoat for any goals that we seem to concede, but he hasn't exactly covered himself in glory over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully it's just a little blip and he gets back to being able to... Because, I mean, other than those couple of little errors that he's made, which are just split-second things, he's still being very, very good. And it's a little bit of a shock to see him turn his back like that, because I'm sure the manager and the staff would have been onto him in training saying, yeah, we got to iron that out. Whether it's just... I don't know. Geoff might be a little bit better to ask this, but I don't know if there's a period of dominance in the game where you're controlling the game, and so you start to switch off a little bit. Then all of a sudden, that was only a split-second moment, and it's in the back of the net before you even realise that there was a shot going on. So, what do you think, Geoff?
You know what, you're bang right. It is difficult. It is in the moment. It is a split second. And with regard to that particular goal, although, I mean, it was highlighted because he did the same the week before. That's where the problem lies. But on this occasion, what you got to remember is the ball went up to, I think it was big Connor Wickham, and he a nice little layoff to Damien Delaney. But at that point, when Wickham has just spun off of Kos, it is a split second. You can't really run and charge the ball, press the ball, because he might pop it back off to Wickham and play a 1-2 straight round him. So he was like caught half and half, but at the same time, you got to make your body big. You don't turn half on the turn. I mean, that's ridiculous, and worry about your bollocks. You just got to go. You got to stand up. You got to make yourself big. But having said that, it was a fantastic strike. You can't take it away from that lad. I bet he won't hit a ball like that all season. It was a fantastic strike. It went straight into the corner of the net, and a lot of people was blaming Cech as well. I don't see it at all. It was a good goal. It was a good goal by them, but Kos maybe could have done a little bit better. But, it's one of those things, I think.
Very true. I think one of the other main talking points as well, and we'll move on through this, is Coquelin and his yellow card just before half-time. There was another dodgy foul just after half-time. And as Danny said in the opening bit to this segment, he probably would have walked. I don't think he could have walked twice, but I think there's definitely an argument that he could have walked, and I think if you look at the player reaction himself, I think he thought he was gone. Now, this is very interesting because a lot of us on this show have actually called out for someone to come on and challenge Coquelin or be another option for him. So I want to talk about how Arteta came on, how he did, if he covered Coquelin's role quite well, if it changed the way we played our game maybe, and if... in fact, he's good enough to deputise for Coquelin when it's inevitable that he's going to pick up yellow cards and possibly the odd red throughout the season. So we'll start with Raj then. Raj, did that performance worry you? And couldn't you see warning signs going into the season if we go in with without some proper backup for him?
I think that there aren't that many Arsenal fans who don't think that Coquelin's going to get a yellow or a red at some point in the near future. He was very impulsive last Sunday, and perhaps some of the good press from all the wonderful stuff he did in the last few months of last season has gone to his head a little bit. So we've got to be very careful. Now, it's interesting that I had a chat with Geoff on Twitter earlier this week about whether Per Mertesacker was asked by the referee to tell the bench to take him off, because I think Coquelin could have been sent off twice in that game, and he was lucky to have stayed on the pitch. With Arteta coming on to replace him, Arteta can do a job. I've never had a problem with Arteta whatsoever. I do fear that his legs are a little bit gone now, and whether he can last the whole season. We've got 50 games, I reckon, this season, if we do okay in the Champions League and the FA Cup and the League Cup. And there's no way in the world that Coquelin can play all those games, so there is going to be rotation in that spot. Arteta could be the man that could do it, but between the two of them, will they do 50 games? No, so we'd probably need a third player from that midfield to cover for them. It's an interesting dilemma. Do we go out in the next 10 days and buy another holding midfielder? The answer, I think, is no, because I think that there's other areas that we need to cover. But, Geoff, what do you think? I mean, Arteta could do it?
Well, going first of all, Coquelin, his game is a combative midfield player. His game is to break down the play of other teams. That means he's going to have to get involved. He's going to have to get his foot in. He's going to get involved in tackles all over the pitch. He does a lot of slide tackling, and where he just hooks the ball, doesn't he? He does that a lot. He's going to give free kicks away. Arteta was the same when he was playing there. Flamini as well. There's not a lot you can do. I mean, I get a little bit. There's no such thing as totting up. You can't get booked for totting up, I don't think. But it's just in the mind's eye where you're watching it. Oh, he's done another foul, and he's done another foul. You automatically think, subconsciously, well, he's totting up. But we're trying to make the game flow and everything else, and I don't want us to take away these tackles where the guys are challenging you. I don't want it a non-contact sport. So I think he's a little bit hard done by. I understand where the modern game, it looks like he could have been sent off. But it's spoiling the game when you get players sent off and you're playing 10 against 11, because it changes the total outlook of the game. With regards to the referee, I think it was quite clear. The referee, after that, the second or third challenge or whatever it was, has called Per Mertesacker over, and he's obviously, in layman's terms, he said to him, "Listen, you better do something about this. Tell the bench, because his next challenge is going off."
But is that not good refereeing, Geoff, from what you've just said?
I think it's good refereeing, yeah. Exactly, because he doesn't want to change the game. It was a good game. For a neutral, I should imagine it was a fantastic game of football, because it was like, a little bit end-to-end, and it was quite an exciting game. And I think it's best to have 11 players on the pitch against 11 at all times. So why? I know you might say, well, it takes an advantage away then, because 11 would have been against 10 and the game might have evened up, blah, blah, blah. But, you do want to see a good spectacle, and it's always best when 11 players are playing 11 players. And I think it was a really, really good decision for the referee. Only problem is we need consistency. Everyone needs to do that,
Absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Geoff. I want to go to Danny next. A lot of the concern for this season is if Coquelin does get a red card and, he's out for maybe 1 game or 3 games, depending on how bad it is. 5 cards tot up, it's an automatic 1-game ban. If you get 10, isn't it 2 or 3 ban? But how would you feel about Arteta starting a game for Arsenal? Surely it would leave us weakened if he were to start the game. Against Crystal Palace, I thought when Arteta was trying to do Coquelin's position, it changed our mentality. There wasn't as much pace in the team. There was not so much of an urgency going forward. And I think when he came in the game, we did kind of sit back. Although saying that, don't take this as me knocking Arteta. I thought he was more than capable when he came on and did that job. But we've got to remember this is only for 35 minutes of a game. Danny, what's your take on the whole situation?
Well, Geoff asked me if there was any stats on the fouls, but I was busy editing the website. So there was 36 tackles we did, 27 were successful, so 75% tackle success rate, which is quite good. But I think the problem that you were alluding to with when Arteta come on, Santi at the moment is doing the job Arteta did before, slowing the play down, passing and pinging the ball around all over the pitch. And so you had two players in the centre of midfield both doing that, which is, you can't have two players doing the same thing unless they're defensive-minded midfielders. But I think Arteta can do the job. I mean, for him to come in, one of the first things he did was get stuck in with a tackle, and I think that still shows that although people say that his legs are gone, you don't need to be the quickest player in the world to be a defensive midfielder. I know that people don't like to say the DM word, but I'm going to say it because there's no other real way to put it. Someone who can defend and tackle and get stuck in midfield. So I think maybe it would have been a better idea to maybe bring Arteta on and take off Flamini, take off Santi, and then move Ramsey into the middle. Then Ramsey could have been the attacking one, and then Arteta could have been the defending one. But I think having Arteta and Santi in the middle at the same time, they might have kind of both done the same job and cancelled each other out a little bit. Plus, also, you got Arteta coming back being the captain, and that's going to be strange for him because he hasn't played properly in ages. But I think he's more than capable of doing the job.
Can I come in there just
sure.
talking about that? Because I didn't. Raj asked me the same question. I think it was good that he brought him on when he did. I'll tell you why. Because Arsenal generally we go 2-1 up and we're still going to try and score 3 goals. It's nice for a change to go 2-1 up and we have we bring a player on that's going to do. Arteta is not going to go marauding over the halfway line. I'm sick of seeing Arsenal 2-1 up and we've got 6 players upfield when someone breaks on us.
Usually Koscielny and Mertesacker.
We don't want to be that team anymore where we're easy to play against. Let's go 2-1 up and with 15 or 20 minutes to go and. Don't be so ambitious. It's just hold it, keep the ball, and just spoil the game if we have to. We can still play a pretty football, and if the chances come along, hopefully we'll take them. But let's not, you still only get 3 points for a 2-1 win, whether it's a 2-1 win or a 5-1 win. Let's just be that team that just keeps on getting the 3 points. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah,
away from home.
Very well said, Geoff. Someone that's been very quiet on this so far is Dom. Now, Dom, I hope you've got the tissues ready because I am going to mention the man's name. Morgan Schneiderlin, of course, didn't quite work out over the summer. He's gone to Manchester United. Is it a silly question to ask you that, is there an argument that he could be doing a job for us, or do you think that maybe Arsene Wenger didn't want to spend the money on him? I heard personally that the wage that Schneiderlin was asked for, maybe Arsene Wenger kind of rebuffed at that and said, not for us. But what's your take on the whole situation?
Oh, look, I think if Coquelin hadn't come along like he had, that Schneiderlin would probably be an Arsenal player, and I think that he would have taken less wages to come because he would have been a starter. But since Coquelin emerged, then I loved Schneiderlin. Well, obviously I like Schneiderlin. He's covered the most ground in the Premier League of any other player, by the way, so far. So he's definitely doing a job for United. But it's one of those situations where, Coquelin, like Geoff said, made himself undroppable. And are you really going to go out and spend 25 million and 150 grand a week on a guy that isn't necessarily a world-class upgrade on what we've already got? Because Coquelin really he had been that good. The Arteta argument for me is I don't want to see Arteta starting for a stretch of 4 or 5 games. I don't think that it's any coincidence that last season, at the start of the season, we had, patchy form, and it wasn't until Coquelin came into the side that all of a sudden we won like 12 to 13 Premier League games in a row. And that was when he was in the side playing really, really well. And the difference is that he has athleticism. I mean, you've got to remember that the whole game isn't played when we've got the ball at our feet. We've got 50% of the game, or maybe with us, maybe 40% of the game where it's movement off the ball, whether you're going forward or whether you're defending. And I don't think Arteta has the ability to play at a high enough level without the ball. And that's what Coquelin can do. He's elite. The way that he positions himself in between the passer and where the guy wants to pass the ball in defence, like the slide tackles you're talking about, his ability to get back and cover a fullback, because we do push our fullbacks up quite high to create width. Arteta can't do those things. And it's not a knock on Arteta, but I don't think that it's going to be a title-winning side if you have to rely on Arteta to play 10 games. And that only means that Coquelin has a red card now and then, and/or gets an injury. If he does a hamstring and it's a 6-week injury, that could potentially be 10 games. Bang, title challenge gone. I know that it sounds harsh on Arteta, but what I'd like to see from him is to, like Geoff said, control games. Well, you can be 2-1 up with 20 minutes to go. Let's bring off Ramsey, who wants to get in the box, and put Arteta in central midfield and have Coquelin and Arteta sitting deep and just defending and bossing the game, as they say. That's where I see him having a role, but I don't think that it's going to be a very good idea to go into the season having Arteta as the defensive midfield backup for Coquelin, because I just don't think that he can do the job required.
I think, is it fair to say that Arsenal rode their luck in the last 20 minutes of that game? A lot of people have said that maybe we were lucky not to draw that game. I can remember just that Palace did have a few opportunities where, on a different day they would have scored them. The main thing I want to ask, Geoff, is how can we build on this performance going into Liverpool?
Well, it's winning mentality straight away. You get back to that winning mentality. That's a massive, massive plus point, because unfortunately, you do doubt yourself a little bit after a crushing defeat like West Ham. But these boys have played together for a long while now, and they know that it was a bad performance. They know we could have done a lot better in the West Ham game. But it's football. These things happen. I've already quoted about what it's like early season. I just think we're in a great position. I think that the lads know exactly what they've got to do. I think we're ready for Liverpool. I really, really don't see. In our game, I think he's changed it a little bit, Wenger as well. Instead of going full blast, attack, I think he's conceding a little bit of the possession sometimes with teams that play, 2 banks of 4 against us. They just block us up all the time and try to push inside, and so we haven't got any width. I think he's more or less said to him, listen, don't worry if we haven't got the ball for 2 or 3 minutes. Let them have the ball for a little bit. That brings them out. Let's bring them out. Let them play against us. Let them think they've got the ball and they'll score against us, because then we can break on them. It's very, very difficult if it's like defence against attack all the time. And, against Liverpool, that the way the Brenda sets a team up, he's going to be all guns are blazing. They're definitely going to attack you, and I think we're in a prime position to turn them over. Well and good.
Yeah. I think we should move on then, and we're doing something a little bit different this year. Normally we don't talk about the next game coming up, but I'm going to do a little bit of 5 minutes at the end of where we talk about the last performance, where we just have a little bit about what the next game is, how you think we should set up, what are the dangers of the other team, is there any changes that we need to make to the team. Right, Dom, we'll start with you then. And of course, we've got Liverpool at home on Monday evening. So is there anything you'd change about the team going into Liverpool?
Not hugely. I think the back 4 picks itself, as well as Cech, obviously, with Bellerin coming back into the right back position, which I think is really, really important. It gives us some pace and width. You're obviously going to play Coquelin. Probably the decision the manager will make is who does he play with him, either Ramsey or Cazorla. And then potentially up front, who's he going to play? Is he going to go for some pace and put Oxlade-Chamberlain on the right, maybe drop Ramsey, or play Theo up the top? I'm not really too sure. I personally wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more pace in the team. I think if we got the ball moving a bit faster, we might cause some teams a bit more of a problem, especially since Liverpool will have a go at us, obviously, and they're quite, they're decent enough on the ball going forward, so they may give us some opportunity to counter-attack. What do you think, Raj? How would you line up?
I think you're pretty much spot on. I think the only change I would make is, definitely put pace on there, and I would put either Ox or Theo in for Ramsey on the right and leave the rest of the team as it is.
Okay, fantastic. Geoff, Walcott or Giroud, which one would you go with to start?
Oh, Giroud, no brainer at the moment. I wouldn't even entertain Theo. Theo can come on as an impact sub with about 20 minutes to go if we need him. But Giroud, he gives you a lot. They're quite a physical team. The 2 centre halves. We've conceded a lot of goals from set pieces from Liverpool of late, so we've got to stop that. And even I think last season we conceded the most goals from dead ball situations. We've got to stop that. So when Giroud is there, I think he helps a long way. So I think he's going to do a little bit better than Theo with regards to that.
Yeah. And Danny, finally, the last question to you is: where will Liverpool look to exploit Arsenal's style of play? Is there anything that we should change? Is there anything we need to be worried about in terms of the way Liverpool play? Go for it.
Yeah, well, Benteke is going to be a handful. He seems to have he'll have one good game and then he'll have 5 bad games, and he's 2 games, 1 goal at the moment for the bin dippers. I think him and Firmino, who I think the old club wanted 10 million, and then Liverpool said we'll give you 26, and they said okay, fair enough. Henderson is hopefully going to be out. Coutinho, who is the new Scouse saviour, who has an appalling rate, and they showed just how deluded the Liverpool fans are. They were putting stats up of Coutinho compared to Özil. It's not even a competition. What does he have? About 1 goal every 5 or 6 games or something rubbish like that. And then you got Lallana.
Adam Lallana.
The Scousers like to call him. I think I'd play Theo up front, although Geoff does have some good points there. I think when you've got the centre-back pairing of Dejan Lovren and I think Skirtle, and I think they're the main 2. I'm just looking here. They're the ones who've played 2 games this season, and Klein's the only decent pacey player they've got. So with a back 2 of those 2, I think, well, you could use the Giroud, like Geoff was saying, getting up there and getting stuck in them, or you could try the Theo way of using a bit of pace to try and beat them. But there again, like Geoff says, use Giroud as a battering ram for an hour, then let's send Theo on for the last 30 to run rings around them. So I think it could be half a dozen of one and 6 of another. I was trying to mess that up, but it come out right. That's terrible, isn't it?
You always manage to mess it up. I should say as well, before we do the predictions for this game, there's a little bit of travel disruption, so you might want to turn up your iPods if you're listening to this and you are going to the game. On Monday, there is due to be planned engineering works, and there will be no Victoria Line service between Walthamstow Central and Seven Sisters. And there will be a reduced service operating on the rest of the line. So basically what we say is plan ahead. I will also say that due to construction work as well, at Highbury and Islington Station, services will be significantly reduced. So bear that in mind. Take that into account. If you can find an alternative way of travelling, then that might be your best way. So, like we said, plan ahead, and that's a little bit of travel information for you. So predictions then for this one. And we'll go to Danny to start with.
3-2 Sanchez.
Okay, fantastic. Dom?
2-1 Giroud.
Geoff?
Jeffrey.
He's got to turn his hearing aid up.
Oh, what a numpty. Can you believe that?
You were on site, you're mute.
I was chatting away there, as well. I thought I'd come right in there well, but, there you go.
That in the trade is known as doing a Gimli.
Yeah. Dom, I'm afraid I'm going to have to agree with you, mate. 2-1 Oliver Giroud.
Okay, Raj?
I'll go 3-1 Giroud.
And I'm going 2-1 Alexis. And I will say that's 2-1 to Arsenal, Alexis, because none of you boys actually said whether Arsenal would win that or not. Oh, Danny, I bet you he's turning in his wheelchair.
In my grave. Doing donuts.
Terrible.
It's not good, is it? I've got my own Twitter icon now. Did you see it the other day?
I saw it.
Quality. Hey, none of you've got your own one. You can bite me. Get on with it.
Yeah, look, it's you next, because we're going to go over to you for the best of the Twitter questions for this week.
Fair enough. Right, this is a very good one that Raj pointed out, and I went, yep, that's top of my list. So this is from Madden, at RobMadden86. Hi guys, can you explain how Bergkamp scored about 8 goals a season, but was considered great? So we go straight to Raj on that one.
Christ, where do you start? I mean, for me, he was just a magical player. It wasn't about the goals he scored, and some of them were wonderful. We all remember the hat-trick at Leicester, the goal against Newcastle. But he applied his ability to the benefit of the team in some ways. I don't know whether Geoff agrees on that, but he was just someone that personally excited me. He was bought by Bruce Rioch, as we all know, and it was the kind of the era when we started to bring it into kind of continental players, which Arsene Wenger brought through after Bergkamp had joined the club. Rioch, I remember, loved him as a player. We just got rid of George Graham. He just sacked him. And the shackles of that turgid style of play that we had under George Graham kind of fell off. And Bergkamp was that kind of torchbearer in some ways. And he was the kind of precursor to everything that happened after that, with Henry coming through and Vieira. and Pires and all that. So for me, he was just a bright, shining light in my support for the Arsenal over the years. He was just a wonderful, wonderful player. And that question could be applied to, as I said earlier on, you could ask that question to every Arsenal fan, and they'll have a different reply because it's how that man affected that fan. Geoff?
I think before we go, Geoff, just want to read out the goals per season. 16, it's all competitions, 16, 14, 22 in our first double season, 98, because as Arsenal we've done it 3 times, thank you very much. 16, 10, 5, 14, 7, 5, 8, 3, and he averaged about 11 goals a season. So saying 8 was the right near the end, that was in 04-05. So go on, Geoff.
Well, it's quite simple really in my eyes. I mean, I know the game is all about goals and who scores the most goals, but with Dennis Bergkamp, it's not really just all about the goals. He wasn't a prolific goal scorer, but I think it's fair to say that the whole world of football, he is one of those players that is worth the entrance money just to go and see him.
Absolutely.
Anyone else want to say anything on that?
Can I just add on? That sorry, Danny. When we first bought him, I think it's like £7.5 million or whatever. I think most Arsenal fans were genuinely excited, but the parting shot from Moratti, the Inter Milan president, was, he's no good. He'll be lucky to get double figures at Arsenal. And then there was a Dutch journalist at that time, Jan, whatever his name was, and he came out with an article saying that Bergkamp was a sissy and all that. And I just think those two guys, I mean, look what Bergkamp did after that. I mean, he's put them to shame. I mean, some of the things that were said about him by those two guys were shameful. And I just think, he's a great. In my eyes, he's a great. He might not be to other Arsenal fans, but he is one of the greats for me.
Alan Sugar apparently refused him at £6 million at the time, and he said he wasn't worth the £6 million.
Yeah, it's just.
Well, they call it the Bergkamp hole for a reason, don't they, Gimli?
Brilliant.
They certainly do. I think just the way the man came into our football club and almost opened our eyes to the way that football could be played on a new level. I mean, to go on from what Raj said, the goals that he scored against Sunderland, he scored a few top corner, just the exquisite chips that he used to score, that goal against Newcastle. Those are the moments. For every goal against Newcastle could be worth a hat-trick from any other player. I think he took the heart of every Arsenal fan, and he just made our football, like I said, he took it to a new level. And I mean, I could sit here all day and I really couldn't give the man justice for just how special he was and just how much of a remarkable signing he was for our club. The man will be a legend. I think you've got to also look at the way that he left the club as well. He was a true professional right to the very end. And like I said, there's really no words that do him justice.
No, there was another thing in his book, Stillness and Speed. He talks about his transfer to Arsenal, and it's brilliant. He says that he knew that he hadn't had a great time at Milan, and he was very flattered that we'd bought him. And he said to his missus, "Christ, they must really rate me. I'm going to have to up my game." That was his actual line. It's brilliant. Everything about him. In some ways, I mean, would I be naughty to say that he was the modern day Rocastle? I don't know, but
I used to see his wife and kids regular outside the Arsenal. They'd stand outside the marble halls for about 15 or 20 minutes when they arrived, just before they go in. And you'd see them regularly. They'd be sitting just chatting, standing about chatting. The kids would go and get a hot dog, believe it or not, and they'd just sit around chatting and all that, and people would come up to them, and it was fantastic. You don't see that nowadays, do you? Really, it just doesn't happen.
But Geoff, you've also got to look at what his fellow professionals thought about him as well. From what I've seen in every programme that I've watched on Dennis Bergkamp, there hasn't been one Arsenal player or anyone that's played with him that hasn't said that he's been the ultimate professional, or the way that he stayed after training and just lined up balls and took free kicks, always trying to take his game to the next level. I actually see a lot in Alexis Sanchez, what I did with Bergkamp, the way he just tries to take. There is never I'm at my point, it's not going to get better. I am always within the capacity to take my game to another level, and I think that's one of the things you've also got to remember with Dennis Bergkamp.
He also came into that era, the end of that era, where there was still boozing going on and all sorts going on after games and stuff, and he was the first real Arsenal player that didn't get involved in any of that stuff. And I remember Parler saying, Parler said that, in one of his interviews that he remembers that Bergkamp was really fastidious about what he ate and drank. And I know Arsene Wenger, when he came in a little while later, really instilled that discipline in terms of looking after yourselves after that. But again, I'll say again, Bergkamp was the catalyst for all of that as well. So
I'd be interested to hear what Dom thought about Dennis Bergkamp, being someone else that watched him in another country.
Do you think he's worthy of having a podcast named after him, Dom?
Absolutely. Look, I think the difference, we're going back to the Özil comparison, is we've already covered the fact that, Dennis Bergkamp did score more goals than Özil is at the moment, but he's a winner. And I know that sounds strange because, Mesut Özil's won a lot of trophies in his time through Madrid and Germany and, a couple now at Arsenal, but Dennis Bergkamp was that guy that you could, he just had that different edge about him. If you look at Tony Adams, wasn't the most gifted footballer in the world, but you would run through a brick wall for the guy. And then you've got Mesut Özil, was one of the most technically gifted footballers in the world. You put those two together, and you've got Dennis Bergkamp. So I think it's not necessarily just about what they did on the pitch as far as numbers and statistics and stuff. It's how they went about it, and I guess that's the knock on Özil, is that he's a little bit lackadaisical and he has that kind of
language.
He's a little bit more, that languid style about him, which is fine, but he's not going to snap and turn into a Dennis Bergkamp. They just play the same position and they're both technically gifted players. But the reason Dennis Bergkamp is lauded as probably, arguably the greatest Arsenal player ever is because he was a winner and he grabbed games by the scruff of the neck and he picked the team up, and he had that little bit of edge about him and that little bit of aggression, and I think that suits the English game and a lot of the people that would follow the game, is that English bulldog spirit that I think that he had.
I think you're right. He wasn't a pushover, and he was capable of losing his shit, and he did on many occasions. But he did it with such class.
He had to have words shouted him to by one fan at one point, didn't he? That's turned his career around.
Yeah, can you regale those words that you shouted at an out of form Dennis Bergkamp?
He was having a bit of bad form, probably, just as he was coming up for his contract renewal. So this probably would have been, if I'm looking at the seasons, 1, 2, 3. So it probably would have been about 2001. And he'd only scored 5 goals in 35 that season. I screamed at him, "Dennis, sort your fucking life out. What did he do next season? 14 in 46. Thank you very much."
Fantastic. And I think we should all say what a wonderful question that was and how enjoyable it has been to regale some Bergkamp memories and talk about just what a fantastic player he was. Next!
That's why he's got the number 10 squad number on our podcast. Right. El Primero, who is at _Heisen Bergkamp. Hey, see, link the two together. This one is mainly for Geoff. It says, and he's quoted, Wenger really know. Go, Geoff.
In my opinion, definitely. The man is what it is. He's been at the club for a long time now. I think he is by far the most decorated in bringing trophies to the club, and he's still got it. Believe me, we just had 2 in 2. There's no reason why we can't carry on there and really crack on and go for the big ones, the Champions League and or the Premier League. It's going to happen. 2015, Dan, you remember?
Yes, people go back and listen to the Steve's Bald Collective, and when Geoff was on in the early days, it's probably about December 2012, he said, you wait till 2015, that'll be our season, and it bloody is right.
Could see what was going to happen with the Reddies and the money and everything else, once we get over that little period where the stadium mortgage or the payments become manageable, and we're filling the stadium every single fortnight, getting good money, you could just tell what was going to happen, and we weren't selling our best players.
I don't think
Geoff, your season's going to end in the next 10 days, mate. In the next 10 days, we'll know exactly what's going to be happening.
There's been fucking no negativity so far, and you just have to lower it.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not being negative. I'm not
exercising an exorcism.
I'm going to say nothing until the 1st of September.
It doesn't matter whether we bring anybody in or not. I really don't. I don't think it makes a massive difference. I really don't. But we'll cover that, no doubt.
Is there any wise words, Dom?
Well, we could expand on that. That was going to be my question to both Geoff and Raj, because I know that they'd have different opinions. Is that if the current squad was what we go into the season with, how confident are you that we can win? And if he was to find somebody on the transfer market of decent quality, would you be more confident? I know it's a silly question, but that's the point.
We've got 0 chance of winning Premier League or Champions League if we don't add top striker in the next 10 days. If we do add a top striker, and I really do mean a top striker, then I think... I keep telling everyone, I'm not expecting trophies. My minimum expectation is that we challenge for the Premier League title. I don't think we will without a top striker. I think we're an injury away from disaster.
Oh, breaking news. I've only just found out that Madden bloke is a fucking Man United fan.
Who?
That Madden bloke who asked the Bergkamp question.
Fair enough. It's still a good question, though.
Yeah, good
Great
question.
Your mate Jimmy, Geoff, he's dug him out as a Man United fan, and I've just had a look at his bio, and it does say Man United.
Yeah, it's all right. They're all welcome. They're all welcome. No problem.
Geoff. So you think Giroud will lead us to the Premier League?
It's not only about Giroud. Without Giroud, we'd struggle. I'll tell you that for sure.
But we're one injury away, Geoff. That's my worry.
I don't think
Giroud gets injured, we are buggered.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. No, I don't think so. Welbeck will be back by that stage. You could play Sanchez up top there as we can score from all over the park. It would be nice. Don't get me wrong. It would be nice to obtain from somewhere a top-class centre-forward that can bag you the 20 goals a season. We'd take that. That's no problem. But I honestly do think, because the squad has been together for this length of time now, Oliver Giroud as well has progressed season upon season. I've got immense confidence that he'll do that again this season. And where we've all gelled together, we've been together a long time now. All these winning teams, they're always together 2 and 3 years, generally, the top teams. And I think we're ready for it, whether we add or not. Even if we do add, if we sign Benzema, there's no guarantee that Benzema was going to come in and hit the ground running and get you 25 goals. You've seen I've covered this the last podcast I was on. We'd have all lauded Falcao last year if he'd have come and signed for Arsenal. Look what happened to him at United. Now I know it's a different situation. He might have done the business for Arsenal, but you never ever know. It's very difficult. We've had players before where we've signed them and they haven't. I go back to Peter Marinello days and Jeff Blockley centre-half and thinking he was a saviour of our defence and stuff like that. They was pony. You never know, even how much you pay for them, you never know how they're going to play.
Geoff, whilst I agree with you on some of that, does that mean that we don't buy anybody ever because it's a gamble and it's a risk? Because you can tell me if I'm being unreasonable here, but a little bit on the same side as Raj, where my expectations as an Arsenal fan isn't to win trophies. That's a bonus. It's to go into every single season giving ourselves the best chance possible to do so. Exactly. So if there's money in the bank and there's weaknesses in the squad that we have chosen not to address, then that's where I'm disappointed. And I look at the squad right now and I think that we could improve. There are areas that could be improved. And whilst, yes, every single signing is a gamble, but, Dennis Bergkamp was a gamble. Thierry Henry was a gamble. All of these guys were gambles. Alexis Sanchez was a gamble. But they filled a need at the time. And my argument is that I think there are needs in the squad, whether you want to look at defensive midfield, whether you want to look up top. I think the majority of Arsenal fans would be in agreement that there are areas in that squad that I think could be improved. And, you say, well, who is out there? It's not for me to tell the club who, because if I was to ask you, do you think 33-year-old Mikel Arteta is Arsenal quality? If there was a player like him out on the transfer market available right now, and I mentioned him to you, I bet you would say that he's not good enough. And yet here he is as our backup defensive midfielder and captain. And that's probably my argument there, is that I look at it and just think, there's a scouting network that's spread out across all of Europe, if not the world, that gets paid ample amounts of money to find these players. And I'm sure they do give the manager a lot of names. And it's up to the manager to decide and pull the trigger to decide, look, there are deficiencies and I am going to take that risk because we're there. Like I said, the age of the squad, it's been together. It may be one player is all that we're missing to really push on this season. And it would be disappointing to not do so.
Well, I totally understand what you're saying, and I do agree with it in the main. But you mentioned Coquelin. Think about Coquelin. We as Twitter would have told us, should have replaced him. The season before or the season before that. That's fair enough. But then we wouldn't have had Coquelin as he is now. That was, he might turn out to be a fantastic player. I do believe in what the manager's doing right. For people to, not saying they do, right, but people, to me, seem to think that there's a reason why he doesn't want to sign these players. Well, maybe the reason is because they're not available. The ones that he wants are not available. He wants to improve. He doesn't want a player, right, he wants a better player than Coquelin. He wants a better player than Oliver Giroud. until he gets those players, right, I'd rather us wait until we get those players, or just believe in the manager, because he sees them every single day. And if he thinks Danny Welbeck or Sanchez, or he's got enough players in other areas to promote from the squad and mix up, then why don't we just believe he can do that until the time he can put his hand on the player and say, right, you'll do for me. And I'll tell you another thing, he's not done yet, trust me. This window is not done. I still think Arsenal will do business. So let's just wait until the end of the window, and then we'll have this conversation then, because I think you might be, hopefully, we'll all be a little bit better.
Raj did say.
Yeah, so go on.
Yeah, Raj did say that he's going to wait till September 1st before he starts giving everyone grief. And I'm on that boat too.
I was on the verge of ranting today on social media, but I thought, no, it will make me look a complete arsehole if we go and end up with. I mean, you know what? The one thing that is really this summer. I mean, I've kept away from transfers all summer. I've been doing other things and enjoying my summer. And all my mates who don't support Arsenal, they all support different teams, and they have been genuinely excited for Arsenal that we were thinking of buying Benzema, and every single one of them, and I'm talking dozens of them, are saying, if you buy Benzema, you're going to win the Premier League. And you kind of start to believe the hype. When fans from other clubs start saying to you, you get Benzema, you're going to win the Premier League. And they've all said that. So,
Do you think, Raj, that if Benzema was for sale, Wenger would go in for him?
Yeah.
Well, there's your answer. So there must be something else.
Yes, I know that. I'm not criticising us for not buying Benzema, because I've not actually believed that we were going to buy Benzema from day one, because nothing's come from Madrid in any way, shape or form suggesting anything different. However, I'm not going to carry on about this because, as you said, there's 10 days left. And I'm not going to say too much. You watch next week how toxic it's going to get on your timeline next week. I pity you, because it's just going to. I pity everyone on Twitter. I might take a week off, to be quite honest, because it's just going to get worse and worse. But 1st of September, I will have an opinion. What
I can't get my head around is people blaming Wenger, right? They're more or less saying, questioning him. Does he really, really want to take us forward? I mean, for fuck's sake, please. Surely, he's not stupid. He's been around the game a long while. He's not just sitting on his thumbs, just waiting for things to happen, right? They're out there doing their best to sign these players, but they're few and far. These Man United need one. They can't buy one. They've got all the money in the world. They'd throw £300,000 a week. I heard today that they offered Thomas Muller £1 million a month to come and play for them. How the fuck can we compete with that? Come on, it's impossible to compete with that. So Wenger, can you imagine how much it frustrates him? He wants these players, right? And they'll make an inquiry and they'll say, yeah, all right, cool, yeah, Man United want him as well, and Chelsea want him as well, and Man City. What's he going to do? He can't get in a bidding war with these teams. I don't care what you are. The only way you're going to get them is if all these teams are full up, they've got their players, or he finds someone like one of them gems that he'd find, in like Henry, the way he converted him. We found at the time Adebayor was a bit of a gem. Fuck knows what happened to him afterwards, but we had them players, but they're hard to find now. But he's not sitting on his thumbs, He wants to take us forward. He wants us. You don't think he wants to win the league? I mean, please, come on. He's as much an Arsenal fan as us.
Would you have taken Pedro if?
No. No, I wouldn't. No, we've got too many. What? And have him? Who's he going to play? He's not going to play as a centre forward.
He's not going to get game time at Chelsea, because look at Juan Cuadrado, which is apparently the player that he's come in to replace, and he's played a handful of games for Chelsea.
Well, this is a point. Look at the players. You've got Cuadrado. We only signed him last year, right? They paid what? What did I pay for him? £20 million.
24 million.
24. They can afford to do that, because £24 million to Abramovich, right? With all his billions, right, and the way he cheats and everything else with regard to this FFP and everything else, right? It doesn't make any difference to him. Arsenal are a different football club. We can't go doing business like that. It's a simple. And Man City, Wilfred Broney, 30 million. He won't play 50 games for Man City. That Wilfred Broney. He won't play 50 games. He'll be gone by Christmas time. I'll be surprised. He's not going to play the games.
But Geoff, these players are out there. No one can deny there are players out there available that can strengthen Arsenal. Because people have come in at me all week and go, "Oh, name me. You can't name me one top striker that would come in and improve Arsenal." Yes, I can. Edison Cavani.
Yeah, but is he for sale?
Every player has got his price. This is my argument.
Yeah, of course they have. Yeah. We can't go and pay £50 million for Edison Cavani and give him £250,000 a week.
But the thing is, Geoff, the other, the flip side of the coin is, what good is £50 million sat in the bank? Come January, £50 million isn't going to get you an FA Cup. Or
it's not the £50 million. It's the
£250,000
a week you got to play him. Once you pay him £250,000 a week, Mesut Özil is going to be straight behind him. Alexis Sanchez is going to be straight behind him.
But see, the thing is, it's like, if someone turned around to me and said, there is not a top striker out there that could improve Arsenal, you're telling me
that's a lie.
There is no striker out there that's better than Olivier Giroud.
No, I'm not saying that, of course not.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying this is the general consensus, because surely you've only got to strengthen to your weakest player in that position. So if you bring in a player that's better than Danny Welbeck, you've strengthened your team instantly. You don't have to spend mega money to do that.
No, we don't want Deadwood again, mate. We don't want a player on par with Olivier Giroud. We want a player better than Olivier Giroud.
Yeah, no, I agree. And
we can't find them. Are they out there, really?
Yeah, I genuinely think so.
Well,
Arsenal have got money in the bank. I mean, let's be honest, you can go to clubs and, put in bids for players, turn players' heads. It happens.
It's not as simple as that. A lot of people saying, well, we should have got Benteke. I don't know whether Benteke's better than Giroud. And if he is better than Giroud, is he that better than Giroud that you want to pay £35 million for him? I'd rather keep that £35 million to someone like, I don't know, a top centre forward comes along where you can go bang, you pay the money. But there's a shortage of top 30 goal strikers.
Okay,
you go
Zlatan Ibrahimovic, there's a name for you. Does he not strengthen Arsenal?
He's about 104 years old.
He's still a quality player, though. You can't deny that.
Please, the ego, mate, of that man, it would absolutely ruin the dressing room. You can't have a player.
I think Geoff's right on that one.
Oh,
I'll tell you what I'm going to say is I can't wait for the pod on the 3rd of September. That's what I'm going to say.
I can't wait for the
This is where it comes back to it. Well, this is where it comes back to the expectations, right? Is I'm a little bit more sort of level-headed than maybe some of the average Twitter Arsenal fan, because I don't compare our transfer dealings to Chelsea and Man City, because I know that they're on a completely different level to us. And yes, they can go out and get Pedro out, from the nose of Manchester United, because they can just go, bang, here you go, I'll give you an extra £5 million on the transfer and I'll up your wages by $50,000 a week, because they can do it. That's not really the issue for me. The issue for me is just making sure that we go into the league with the best chance of winning it. And I think that we can do something about that. Not saying that he's not trying, because I know that he is. But perhaps it's go time. Perhaps he should be looking at the squad, and I'm sure he is, seeing that these players, the world-class players we have, I still call Petr Cech world-class, and he's in his prime. You've got Mesut Özil and Alexis Sanchez in their prime, Ramsey coming up to it. I'm not sure waiting is going to do us any favours, Geoff. I really don't think. Maybe a few years ago I'd agree with you, but now I look at it and think, you know what? Is another season or two just going to slowly pass us by, where we keep sort of getting second, third, not quite pushing on to the Premier League? Because it's hard to win now. These mid-table sides are signing players like Shaqiri. Yeah. Stoke have decided to start playing football now. They're going to take points off of teams. Yeah. It's not a 2-3 horse race anymore. And I think that the level that you need to be at for a full 38 games is so much higher that maybe the players need to realise, you know what, you're not going to play 38 games and be a starter every single week, because it takes a little bit more than that to win the league now. You've got to be more of a team player, more of a squad player, where you've got to understand that there's going to be times that you're going to be called upon to play every week. There's going to be times where I need to play someone else because of tactical reasons. And, maybe the players need to understand that when they come into the team, it's not all about them. But as it stands right now, I still think that we're a little ways off, and I can't see that waiting a season or two is going to end up getting us there, because I look at the team now and think it's prime ready to go.
Don't forget also that in 2016-17, the new TV money kicks in. Mm-hmm. The team that ends up bottom of the Premier League are going to earn something just a little bit short of £100 million. It's the whole face of transfers are going to change. So we've got to.
That's why the Premier League. Sorry, Raj. That's why the Premier League is really, really competitive. You've got players, teams like Swansea and West Ham playing. West Ham giving £70,000 a week to players. They're going to bring. Everyone wants to come to the Premier League when they're paying 70 grand a week. You know what I mean? You got them Spanish players. There's a lot of money getting 10 grand, 15 grand, or if they're lucky. You know.
You got to look at it as well, Geoff. Gökhan Inler has just signed for Leicester City. That is a player that 2 or 3 years ago our fan base was crying out to sign. And
well,
he's
that's
just
the
signed
reason.
for Leicester.
It's the money. It's the money that's involved. But going back to the squad, I honestly do think all the teams that win the Premier League, they're built. Right, you get the quality players in, but they're built. And when they say they're built, they keep their core quality players for 2 and 3 seasons. On the 3rd and 4th season, that's when you can add and you bits and pieces. You go along and you've got a proper squad. I, in my heart of hearts, believe that Arsenal are ready this year to have a proper go at the title. Still going to be very, very difficult. People say, well, there's no excuses. There is excuses. There is. The Premier League's got better. I know we all play each other, but the Premier League's got better. United, Chelsea and Man City have assembled squads with better players, really. They've paid more money for them. Maybe we've got a little bit more technique and more goals, right? We are going to have to overcome that. The only way we're going to do that is if we build a team, and I think we've built a team right now.
That's fair enough. I think we should draw a line under that particular question, because this whole last bit of the podcast was meant for Facebook and Twitter questions, and we've only answered 2. So, Danny, let's have one more, and let's have quick answers from everybody on it.
Okay, a little bit of an update on the bloke who asked the question. Jimmy's winkling information out of him. 2 bits of breaking Man United news. This bloke, Rob Madden, has decided that Henry, Cristiano Ronaldo, Robben, Yaya Toure and Aguero are all better than Bergkamp. And also, Robin Van Persie, Fenerbahce spent all that money bringing in all those players for the Champions League, got knocked out in the qualifying round. They won 1-0 away at some team called Atromitos with a 90th minute Van Persie goal. Oh, that team's Greek, I've never heard of them.
Wonderful.
So there you go, that's what happens when you leave the Arsenal, you might as well just give up your career. Alright, next question is... I suppose this is more of a statement than a question from Talal, who is at GHARABALLI. Why, in capital letters, why have we not signed an outfield player yet? Question mark and exclamation mark. For a team that finished 3rd in the EPL and KO'd in the round 16 of the UCL, that's absurd. So I think we've just talked about that, but he's just put it in capital letters.
We just answered it, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we should just forget about transfers until the window's finished, really, and then we can talk about it more then. But it's hard to say what's going to happen in the next 10 days.
Here you go. Here's one that isn't transfer related. Ellis Mill, who one day will be coming on the radio show, says, this is at ENLISMEHL, if you could take any player from a rival Premier League team but had to swap them for one of our starting 11...
Easy.
That is so easy.
Go on then, Raj.
Aguero for Giroud.
Of course, exactly.
Jeff?
Exactly, Aguero.
Yeah. Is that the same as you, Don?
I'd answer it halfway through the question. It's simple.
Yeah.
Gimli?
Yep.
What was yours? Is a great answer.
I'd say personally, I'd get shot of Alexis Sanchez, and the man that I'd bring in is Jordan Henderson. But that's just me, fellas.
That's a good one as well, actually. I'd go for that as well.
Yeah, I don't think you can go far with Aguero. I think he would just work supreme. Just imagine Aguero and Özil and Sanchez working together. They just cancel the league and say it's all over.
# moist.
He tried to buy him. He tried to buy him as well when it was at Atletico Madrid.
We offered about 18, 19 million. The Man City went 30.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what you're up against. There's a host of players that he tried to buy, and we couldn't buy them. Simple as that.
Wasn't he over here either? For the Emirates Cup, the year before City signed him, or the same year, I remember, because I remember going to see him, and I thought, wow, some player, he is a fantastic player.
You might need to cough.
Yeah, I do.
Right, another good one from the Swedish Freddy at Frederick Darnell. Gibbs as a future winger, question mark, deployed further forward against Chelsea in the Charity Shield. What do people think, Dom?
No. No, not going to happen.
No.
Well, he was a striker as a kid, wasn't he?
But Danny, the need for quality in our team, if you're saying, let's just stick Kieran Gibbs on the wing, what? Instead of Alexis Sanchez? Fuck off, you're having a laugh.
There you go, Swedish Freddy, fuck off.
Decent cover for Monreal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so then, Asher Newman, which is at ASHERNAUMAN. Who should play on the right wing? Walcott, Ramsey, Ox, or Welbeck? We'll start with Gimli.
Ox.
Put them in your order of top 3.
Who were the players again, sorry?
Walcott, Ramsey, Ox, Welbeck.
Ox has got to start there all the time, and then it's got to be Walcott and then Welbeck and then Ramsey.
Oh, Raj.
Yeah, I'd agree. At this moment in time, seeing what Ox has done recently, I'll go for Ox.
Dom?
Yeah, if he can stop giving the ball away in our defensive third, that'd be good. But other than that, Ox.
And finally, Geoff.
I'd play Ox in every single game, apart from Ox in every single game, apart from the big games: United, Chelsea, Liverpool. I won't include Tottenham because they're not a top team, are they? So, but a reason for that is I'd put Ramsey in there. Ramsey is more disciplined. I know you're not going to get the same out of him going forward on the right-hand side for width and stuff like that, but against these top teams, you do need you can't really go gung-ho. You need to be a little bit cuter, as we've found out in the past, getting battered by them. So, and I think Ramsey does that job well. He's disciplined.
Oh, there you go. One final quick question from Habib, who is at HHANANIA91. If Bellerin and Jenko continue to progress as they are, do you sell Debuchy next year and make room for Jenko? Dom?
Oh, that's a tough call. Because I've been on the Jenkinson bandwagon since day one, was when he went out on loan. Because it's interesting, people think that you have 1 year on loan and if you're not a superstar then you get sold. But I think it was always going to happen that he did well and he was going to get more time out on loan while Debuchy comes towards the end of his career. I like to have a little bit of experience though. I'm thinking perhaps between Jenkinson and Bellerin, they're still a little bit both too young perhaps. That's a tough one. But if I had to, I'd keep Jenkinson. I think he's a superstar. Quick fitness stat for you. He's been clocked as the second fastest Premier League player so far this season. So he's got some wheels too.
Was that while he was in goal?
Yeah, he moved real quick.
Geoff?
No, I'd leave it as it is now. See how he gets on this season.
What I mean is at the end of this season.
Yeah, well, let's see how he goes, and between now and the end of the season, then make a decision then, obviously, because you never know how they're going to pan out, Is he going to want to come back and sit on the bench? Because it's quite clear that at the moment, the way Bellerin's playing, he looks like he's going to hold that position down for a little bit yet, and we've got good cover in Debuchy. He's getting on a bit, Debuchy, now, so maybe he would come back, but will Jenks want to come back and sit on the bench, Well,
he signed a 5-year deal, so he's here for a while unless we flog him. Raj?
I think Bellerin's in for good now, even if Jenkinson progresses. But yeah, I mean, Geoff's right. I think you have to wait until the end of the season. I've got no idea how well he's progressing. But if he carries on at the same rate, Debuchy is getting a little bit old. But again, as Geoff said, does Jenkinson want to sit on the bench? Because I think Bellerin has sealed his spot in the team for many a year, I think, in my personal opinion.
And last, and most definitely last, Gimli, and I'm handing you the wooden spoon of talkingness.
Okay, thank you. I think Debuchy, I know it's still early doors, but Debuchy looked like a bit like a fish out of water against West Ham. I think Bellerin, when fit, has always got to be the first choice. But like my esteemed panellists have said, I think you've got to wait to the end of the season to make that decision. Right then. We'll wrap up this podcast with some shout-outs as we always do. And Danny, I'm going over to you first.
Oh, as usual, I'm going to go and have a look at my followers. And the last person to follow me, that's not...
Every fucking week we do this, and every week you haven't got one ready. You're the one that's done this every week, and you can't even do it.
Well, because I've had some during the show, like HR Jobs Peterborough. They're not getting my shout. It's going to go to Rashid Ibrahim... Ebrahim, who is at RMRARE, Arsenal Till I Die. Well, I'd change that to Arsenal even when I'm dead. So there you go. It was the last Norway Gooner to follow me.
Superb.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm going to shout out our very own Welsh Jason. I haven't been able to pod with the man for quite a while, so I'm going to put in a request now live on air that I get to have a chat with my boy. So at Jason Davies 71, give him a follow if you don't already. And abuse him. Just give him grief.
Yeah, loads.
Don't let him know where you live.
No, loads of abuse, but don't leave your IP address there. He will find you. He's very much like
he has a certain set of skills.
I was thinking Colin Firth, but it's not Colin Firth, is it? It's the other one, The Taken.
Yeah, he has a certain set of skills.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, that's him.
The other one.
He will find you. and he will kill you. Simple. Geoff?
Yes, at Coogan Cassius, Kugan Cassius, as in Cassius Clay. He is an Arsenal fan, long-time Arsenal fan. He also runs a company called iFilm London. Now, they are absolutely top-notch of boxing coverage and interviews, in-depth interviews, right up front for all the boxing, all around, all the best boxing in Britain, mainly in the Eddie Hearn camp, but he's a big Arsenal fan, and you should go to his the iFilm London. Honestly, if you like boxing, if you're a boxing fan, you will not get any better interviews. It's like he's asking questions and to the boxers, these high-profile boxers, and they're having a chat in the pub. It's brilliant. So go and have a look at it.
I'm actually working on getting a boxer on the show, a very famous boxer. He is an Arsenal fan. And I think there's two famous Arsenal fans that are boxers out there at the moment, and I'm not going to say who.
Fair enough.
Finally, Raj?
Danny's already mentioned him, but I think I'll mention him again because I really enjoyed his question. I thought it was one of the best questions I've had recently. At Rob Madden 86 for the Bergkamp question.
Even though he's a Man United fan,
love talking about our players over the years.
I've had a look at his tweet, and he was saying, Bergkamp shit, how come you guys call him great? I think that's what he meant by the tweet.
So
but
I'm not sure if that's what he meant, but it's a great question. It got a load of really good debate, like Raj was saying.
If he did mean it in a critical way, bellend.
I have a question from a Bristol City fan as well.
I like everyone getting involved. Yeah. This is a fun show.
We're international, mate. We even do stuff. We even get Welsh fans kind of sending stuff in. I mean,
can't read it. We get it.
No, exactly.
You really need to speak to Davis about that because it's not good. Seriously, the tripe that he sends in via WhatsApp.
It's all written in your blood. That's what worries me.
No, no. Wow, there's not much of that left. Anyway, I'm going to do my shout-out for this week, which is at Hollenfreund, which is the other Geoff, and that is at HOLLEFREUND. As many of
I still can't spell that.
Okay, I can't pronounce it. But as many of you know, you might have seen Geoff's tweets, and unfortunately, he's had to give up doing the blogs. It's very sad, and he's going to be a great loss for us. But we are going to continue with the blogs. We're finding a way to do it. But I just wanted to give OG a nod and just say all the best, mate. And literally all the best from everyone here at ABW.
Well done, OG. Good lad.
Yeah, and thank you all the work he's put in so far, because I think our blogs made it into the top 15 football blogs on TripAdvisor.
Did. And that was before the Goonaholic one, which broke all records and got over 2,000 views in the first day.
He's great, a holic, isn't he?
We'll be on soon.
He is going to be coming on soon. And Mark King too. So basically,
John, what's it? Crossy's going to come on soon, isn't he?
Yeah, John Cross is going to be on.
Tell us about it, Raj. Tell us.
John Cross has got a book coming out all about Arsene Wenger. It's going to be published on the 20th of September, and he has agreed to come on our pod on the 3rd of September, which is quite convenient because that's the day me and Geoff will be talking about the transfers as well. So it'll be a very interesting pod.
Who managed to organise all that, Mr. Raj?
It was the pod. We take collective responsibility for that. So
if it goes wrong, it won't
it's your fault. Yeah.
Won't go wrong. That'll be a colossal podcast.
Exclusive lineup for that one will be John Cross, Raj, and Geoff. So that's going to be a podcast you really don't want to miss.
Are you going to mention who else you've agreed to get on? An Arsenal blogging legend? Or can't we say that one yet?
Oh, well, no, I can say.
Some previews. What have you got planned then, Gim? Go on, tell us.
I've had a good chat with my friend Swiss Ramble. It is. He is Swiss Ramble.
Oh, that'd be good.
He's agreed to come on the show. As many of you know, financially in terms of football, there is not much that man doesn't know. His blogs are fantastic. His tweets are superb. And that's another one who is booked in. We're just pretty much waiting on a date for him to get back to us and say, yes, I'm free. So watch out for that one. I'm free. So that just about wraps it up. All that's left is to thank my lovely panellists tonight and Danny.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Sausages. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
No, jiggy monkeys, bitches.
You always have to get that in. Okay, so Danny, if there's anything this week that's made you think, why do they do that, or why is that an issue, or something you'd like
I
to
did
talk
think at
about?
one point, while she put that there, it's going to impede her going for a poo later. But I thought I wouldn't ask any questions. I let her get on with it.
Who?
That Spencer Bird on Chatterbait. She was hiding something in her little pocket, a backdoor pocket.
A front door pocket.
No, a backdoor pocket.
Really?
I was going to put the chat box in there. There seems to be something in your back door. Are you aware of this? But I thought better not.
You find new ways to amaze me each and every week.
I once asked them what do they think about Pluto being renamed as another planet.
Lovely.
Didn't get a reply.
No, surprisingly not.
Fucking haters.